Hello, my friends. Today I thought we would discuss how fear, our fear, seems so serious, doesn't it, and heavy, our own fear. But the fears of others can seem so silly, can't they? We had friends over a couple of nights ago, and my friend said her biggest fears are being in a plane crash in the ocean and then being eaten by sharks. So she said, "Do you know what the likelihood of me being eaten by a shark is?" And I said, "No." And she said, 0%. There is a 0% chance I am going to get eaten by a shark because I stay away from the water. Now, I live at the beach, and I was thinking, you stay away from the water? Like, you're afraid to even walk into the water? She goes, "No, I put my feet in the water, but sharks don't swim on the shore like that, so I have a 0% chance." I say that, I share that silly perception, that story that to me seems silly, as I've been in a plane crash already and survived, so the chances of me being in another plane crash are huge. Not that statistics should make any difference. Our fears seem very real, but I'd like to show you an opportunity to see maybe that they are quite silly. One way that we can do that is to separate ourselves a little bit from the fear. So think of somebody that you know that has a fear that you think is silly. It's a fear of how they look in public, a fear of not being good enough, a fear of spiders, whatever it is. Somebody that you know, and maybe what you believe is a really crazy fear. Okay. Now with that person in mind, I'm going to use my mom as an example. My mom worries a lot. She worries constantly about me, and she's always telling me to be careful. Whether it's I'm going to go out and skateboard, or I'm just walking across the street, or traveling to another city, "Joe, be careful." So I'm going to use my mom in this example. So I'd like you to try to put yourself in the other person's perspective. So in other words, I'd like you to engage in their fear. So step inside their body, inside their awareness, and try to feel what it's like to be in that fear that you perceive as silly. But how does it feel for them? How does it feel in their body? How might it feel in their head or in their gut? Okay, maybe that is helpful information for you that you can now take and apply to your own fear, to your own situation. I suspect you felt it was safe to be imagining being in someone else's fear, and because of your detachment from it, you could say, "Oh, that seems kind of irrational." So let's do this experiment with you, with the fear that you have, with perhaps an anxiety that keeps you up at night, perhaps is having an ill effect on your health or on your relationship, something that you know is holding you back or keeping you in a state of disappointment. So in this exercise, you are going to be the observer. Okay, just like you went into the experience of the other person who you thought their fear was irrational, You're going to have an experience with your own fear, but as an observer. Okay, so not personally attaching to the story that is going on within you, that you've collected a lot of evidence is true. You're just going to be the observer. You're going to be able to be separate from the experience without any shame or punishment or suffering or a story attached. You're going to be the neutral observer. And from that place, I'd like you to take a look at the fear, at the perceived problem, at this congestion or constriction in your body. Just take a look at that for a moment as the neutral observer. Perhaps you'll find that fear could be perceived as silly also. Maybe as the neutral observer without an attachment to the story of this fear, you could say, oh, that does seem silly. This morning we had a call with a client, and this was a conversation about money and about scarcity and about when money needs to show up. And isn't it wild, insane perhaps, that so much of many of our days are spent in a conversation about money? Now, perhaps you're free of any money stories, and that would be, I would celebrate and honor your commitment to a detachment from it. And I do know some folks who are detached from their money story, and we have a lot to learn from them. Most of us are in a conversation, sometimes subtly, sometimes not so subtly, about how and when and where and why we are going to invest or spend or keep or save our money. So this client this morning, as part of his money story, we invited him to trust that the universe is going to provide for his needs. And the only way that we can establish trust is to trust. And I told him a short story of how I trusted, and results favorably came in quickly. And in inviting him today to trust, I didn't know how the resources were going to show up for him today, but they did. And I got a picture of him with a check that he wasn't expecting until tomorrow, that came in early, that is going to cover his mortgage. My friends, that is how trust is established. There's an invitation to trust, and we extend, without any reason to believe, we extend trust and say, okay, God, I'd like you to show up like this, or okay, universe, or universal energy, or love, or however you consider divine energy. Okay, divine energy, I'm going to put you to the test. And I'm going to invite you to show up for me, surprise me, bless me. And my friends, when we get still, when we get to a still place and we engage in an exercise like this, it's a lot of beauty shows up, where with each little thing that happens favorably, or we perceive as favorably for us, we grow a little bit more trust. A little bit more trust develops. And so this experience today with our client just again confirmed for me the way Spirit shows up in our lives. We trust a little bit and a little bit more happens. We trust a little bit more and a little bit more happens for us. Had our client been worried about how money was going to come in and fretting and being scared and missing the opportunity to enjoy today, he said, today I have open and free, and I can use it, I can invest my time today however I choose to. Now, had he been worried all day about how am I going to pay my mortgage, he would have missed what's happening for him in the present moment. And now that this so quickly manifested for him, it quickly showed up for him, he's able to enjoy the rest of his day. How much more when we make the declaration, I am going to trust that everything works out for me, that there is nothing wrong, that perhaps I'm making up a silly interpretation and this fear is completely unjustified. It's a distraction from me being able to be at peace with the present moment. When you can be the neutral observer and begin to see the insanity, the silliness of your fears, the silliness of your anxiety or your shame, those things that you have held as true for so long, when you see that maybe they're just a story, and they're a story that can be let go of and retold in a completely different way through a new perspective in a new paradigm. Freedom then governs your day, and you walk with a superpower you might perceive as lucky. You may perceive it as blessed. It is peaceful and it is grounded and it is present and it operates from the heart. And the worries and the fears and the anxieties and the shame and the disappointments can be let go of. They can be reinterpreted and integrated back into us or let go of completely. Your choice. My friends, we're in an exciting place. More and more of us are waking up, and I invite you into a deeper relationship with Spirit, with all of your intimate relationships, with yourself. It's a grand adventure. We'd love for you to continue to join us in these broadcasts and broadcasting love and operating from a place that is peaceful. We invite you in. Until then, we'll see you in the next broadcast. Have a beautiful and blessed and grounded day. Cheers to love.